Hey, we better get cranking, and we want to spend a half an hour with the boys on that. Simon Hill joins us, as he does every Sunday morning, to open the batting. A very good morning, Simon.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Good. What game did you call yesterday, quickly in the A-League?
I didn't.
Oh, you didn't?
I was actually playing a gig last night with my band, would you believe? So I had the day off.
All right. Okay.
Do you actually sleep, Simon? I'm not kidding you, mate. I reckon I saw Simon on TV
often.
about 3 times this week.
Yeah, well, I did
everywhere.
the game during the week. The Champions League 2 game during the week. So that's why you heard me late on.
All right. Well, let's start off Premier League. A very interesting round to pull apart here. Let's kick it off with the early game. Everton, Man U, 2-2.
Yeah, and Manchester United, again, dreadful in the first half. Absolutely ripped apart by Everton, who went 2-0 up. Beto with another goal. I think that's his 5th in a little spell since David Moyes arrived as manager again. And then Abdoulaye Doucouré, and again, woeful defending really from Manchester United, particularly for that first one, just not alive enough to the danger. But they managed to fight their way back into the game, which will please Ruben Amorim. I think he was looking at 9 defeats in 13 games since taking over. They got a free kick from Bruno Fernandes with 80 minutes to go that deflected in. That was their first shot on target in the entire game. And then Manuel Ugarte drove in the equaliser from the edge of the penalty area with 10 minutes to go. Even then, they had a late scare. The referee awarded a penalty against them. Ashley Young appeared to be fouled by Harry Maguire, and there was a bit of a shout for Matthias de Ligt had fouled him earlier as well. But VAR ruled in Manchester United's favour, so they escaped with a point. I don't know whether that's going to be enough to satisfy the United fans. And Everton's recent improvement really underlined by the fact that they will feel robbed by that result. But they've made great progress under David Moyes, and they pull well clear now of the relegation zone. So, yeah, an interesting game at Goodison.
Simon, Brentford 4-0 over Leicester. Wolves 1-0 over Bournemouth. Here we come, Simon. Tottenham 4-1 over Ipswich. Can we make it? Can we get to the top 4?
Well, it's entirely possible. Leicester look absolutely doomed at the moment. So I don't think they've scored a goal in the last couple of months at home. So it's a possibility. The other game, Bournemouth 0, Wolves 1. Matthias Cunha with his 4th goal in 4 matches. That's a big 3 points for Wolves because they're struggling down at the bottom as well. And Cunha really is the key for their survival hopes. He was linked with a move away during January, but in the end signed a new 4.5-year contract. And without his goals, I don't really know where they'd be. Only Bournemouth's 2nd defeat since November. They're pushing for Europe, the Champions League. And the other, they would have gone 4th had they won that one. They had Ilya Zabania sent up in the first half as well, which didn't help. But, that's a massive win for Wolves.
Okay, another massive upset. What about this? The Arsenal 0, West Ham 1. Yeah,
and this is Graham Potter weaving his magic at the Emirates again. He's now won, would you believe, 4 of his 5 trips to the Emirates as a manager, which is just one of those little anomalies that the Premier League sometimes throws up. And they were decent value for it, to be honest. Jarrod Bowen with the only goal. Header from close range, and they defended very well. West Ham created some good chances at the other end. A bit of a surprise, as you rightly point out, because they were on a 4-game winless sequence, and Arsenal, of course, looking to close the gap on Liverpool at the top back to 5 points. But they failed to do that. Only 1 shot on target in the first half. Again, their lack of a striker perhaps in evidence. Are they going to rue not spending some money in January on a guy that can get goals for them? They started with Mikel Merino up top because he'd scored the 2 goals to win the points against Leicester last time out. But, not to be. And, it's odds on for Liverpool now at the top. And Arsenal have got to go to Nottingham Forest during the week as well. They're having a good season, of course. So tricky, but congrats to West Ham and Graham Potter. He's pulled the rabbit out of the hat once again.
Emphatic wins to Brighton and Crystal Palace, and probably the more competitive game was Aston Villa versus Chelsea.
Yeah, Crystal Palace are doing very well on the road this season. That's their 4th straight away win, and they're actually 9 games unbeaten away. Unfortunately, they've only won twice at Selhurst Park, which is one of the reasons why they're only in mid-table. And they had one of their former players to thank for the first goal, Joachim Andersen with an own goal, and then Daniel Munoz with a cracking strike from an acute angle to wrap up the win in the second half. Olivier Glasner celebrating 1 year in charge at Sellers Park, which is amazing considering he only won one of his first 11 matches in charge. There was talk that maybe he might get sacked early on, but they've pulled away from the relegation zone. Fulham missing their opportunity to push on for Europe. They would have only been 1 point behind Bournemouth and 2 behind Man City. They got Wolves away on Tuesday night. I think there's a full round of fixtures coming up during the week. Palace play Aston Villa on the same night. Tottenham with a big win. That's 3 in a row in the Premier League. They're starting to get it together. A couple of goals for Brennan Johnson against his old club. He didn't celebrate either. Both set up by Son Heung-min. Amari Hutchinson, half the deficit at Ipswich. They actually thought they'd equalised. Luke Wolfenden headed in at the back post, but an offside flag ruled that one out. And Spurs took full advantage in the second half. Jed Spence and then Dejan Kulusevski. Ipswich remain in deep trouble, third bottom, 5 points from safety now. And Brighton smashing Southampton, poor old Southampton. They can't wait for the season to end, really. I think they're absolutely doomed. They had no touches of the ball in the Brighton penalty area during the first half, only 5 in the entire 90 minutes. And their next 2 games, both away, Chelsea and Liverpool. So you can't see them getting anything bar a cup of tea from those 2 games. It's only really thanks to Aaron Ramsdale that the score was limited to 4. The goal scorers, Joao Pedro in the first half for Brighton, then 3 in the second, Jorginho Rota, Kaoru Matoma is a super little player, and Jack Hinchelwood. So a big win for Brighton. Their European push back on track, perhaps. And the other game you mentioned, Villa 2, Chelsea 1. Chelsea made a bright start, went in front, Enzo Fernandez on 9 minutes. But 2 second-half goals from the 2 loanees, Marco Asensio scoring both, but both assisted by Marcus Rashford, who, of course, has arrived in January on loan from Manchester United, giving Aston Villa the 3 points. So Villa now up to 7th. They're a point behind Chelsea, and again, only 2 behind 4th place Manchester City. So Villa back on track as well.
Okay, let's have a look at these last 2 games. Newcastle play Notts Forest, big game, but United are $1.86, $3.75, and Forest $4.10. And then what a match! Man City $3.10, draw $3.65, Liverpool $2.20.
Yeah, let's start with the Newcastle Forest game. Newcastle were hammered by Manchester City 4-0 away last week. They're a little bit Jekyll and Hyde, Newcastle, and this is a tough one to call, because Forest had a little bit of a setback as well. Even though they're third, they lost to Fulham last week. And this is a big little period of games for Nuno Espirito Santo's team, because they've got Arsenal and Manchester City to come in the next 2. Newcastle are at home. They've maybe got one eye on the Carabao Cup final as well. They've not been able to invest in the January window due to the PSR ruling, the financial rules. So I'm going to tip a draw in that one, to be honest. I can't split them. The Manchester City-Liverpool game, I'd love to be able to tip a Manchester City win, but to be honest, the way City are at the moment, even though we beat Newcastle last week, I can't really see us beating the best team in the country at the moment, especially as we've got John Stones as the latest to join the injury list alongside Manuel Akanji. Again, City struggling for defenders. They were well beaten against Real Madrid in the Champions League during the week. So City have got the FA Cup and top 4 to play for. It's a big game. Erling Haaland could be back, which again brings them in direct competition. With Mo Salah, the 2 leaders in the Golden Boot race. But sadly, I think Liverpool might be a bit too good for us.
And Simon, in the A-League, we call it Derby, they call it Derby. Victory and City share the spoils. The Glory 0-0 with Sydney FC. And on a lighter note, were Auckland and Wellington playing soccer or tennis?
Yeah, well, 6-1, it looks like first set result, doesn't it? And Auckland completing the clean sweep over their New Zealand rivals. Brilliant crowd, new record for an A-League game in New Zealand, 27,009 in attendance. This new club in Auckland have been absolutely fantastic on and off the field. And again, they absolutely blitzed Wellington. 3 out of 3 Derby wins, 8 points clear at the top. A hat-trick for Nadar Moreno. Another full house in Melbourne as well for the 2-all draw between Victory and City. Good seesaw game this. City in front after 5 minutes. Marco Tilio, Victory all square. Zinedine Mashash with a penalty. Santos then put in Victory in front, but a Kai Truin spot kick earning City a share of the spoils. So Victory missed the chance to go into second, at least for 24 hours, because Adelaide are playing today. But yeah, 2 massive derbies. And the third game you mentioned, that's not a bad point for Perth Glory, who continue to improve. But the lack of goals is a problem. Lacking a bit of creativity up top at the moment to provide the bullets for Adam Taggart and Patrick Wood. Luke Amos made his debut. Maybe he'll be the answer. Sydney, understandably, a bit fatigued after their exertions in Thailand during the week. And one other game, by the way, the Wanderers beating Central Coast Mariners 4-0 away from home. The champions, of course, back-to-back champions in Gosford.
One today, and it's a good game. Western United 240, draw 410. Adelaide United 240.
Yeah, again, a difficult one to call this one because Western have had a good season, perhaps a bit of a surprise season, to be honest. They've got a very young side. And they've been in the top 6 most of the season. Now, the way that the results have gone over the weekend and so tight is the A-League ladder that Western have actually slipped out of the top 6 on the back of yesterday. But if they win today, they can go back up to third. The problem for Western is it's the same story for a lot of A-League clubs this season. They struggle to win at home, and Adelaide's away form is brilliant. 6 wins and 1 loss. Western have only won twice at Ironbark Fields, and they lost at home to Auckland last week. The added spice of Hiroshi Ibasuki up against his old club. Archie Goodwin in great form in attack for Adelaide United. Again, I'm going to sit on the fence and say draw, which is how it finished last time, by the way. Last season at Ironbark Fields, a 3-all draw. So I fancy we might get a few goals today, but I think they'll end all square.
Okay, high-scoring draw there. Simon, thanks for that, and we'll do it again next week.
Pleasure, guys. Have a good week.
Simon Hill finishing off there, about to catch up with James Sullivan, who's going to debut on the aftermath for this new season. G'day, Sul.
Hello, buddy. Hello, Brad. How are we, boys?
Sounds like you've been at the Doof here at GP last night.
I saw a bit of Doof.
How are you, mate?
No, I'm just in the shed.
Oh, good place to be.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good. I'm excited.
Just getting the visa ready for LA and getting out into Vegas. And are you and I the cultural attaché for the rugby league teams? I see there's no curfews for the boys when they go over there. What could go wrong?
No, that's right. Well, no curfews. Just hopefully they're going to do the righty. And no, I'm not going, Brad. I'm not going. I'd need a minder.
That's why I'm going with you.
We might have to work on that a little. We might have to do the aftermath party next year.
Oh, yeah, that would be good.
Little tour.
That'd be good. Subtitles will be needed. Don't worry about that. Hey, Sal, now what we're going to do, I know we've got the couple of games on today of the pre-season challenge to come.
Yeah.
But we're going to go through your season bets for this year, and let's kick it off. Let's start off with the Premiers.
Yeah, I've had a good look, and obviously they were beaten in last year's grand final, and I'm talking about the Melbourne Storm at $3.60 to win the comp, but even better, they're $3.50 to win the minor premiership. So you can have a little play at that as well. So yeah, I just think Uto Kamanu comes into that pack. I know Christian Walsh is out, but they haven't lost a lot of cattle, boys, and that's a big thing. It's and I think they'll learn from. Obviously, Craig Bellamy, we know what he's like, Brad. There'll be a burning fire in there just to get one more, I reckon.
Is that right? The wooden spoon. Well, you're talking the wooden spoon, aren't you, with the most losses? The Knights are at $7.
Yeah, $7. Yeah, and
wow.
I really, that's one I really like. And the reason being, it's a lot. There's I don't take notice of trial games, but they've lost a lot of players. And the big thing in rugby league for me, boys, is those halves. And at the moment, it looks like Adam O'Brien hasn't come up with his halves. Everything is based on Kalen Ponga at the Newcastle Knights. He gets injured, bang, So I think to be fair, start of the year, most losses. The Knights is a nice little play just to have a little watch. You know, your minimum outlay, maximum return, boys. But at $7, I think we'll have a bit of fun.
2 to make the top 8.
Yeah, two different sides. People will go, wow. But Gold Coast Titans, I think Desi Hasler's second year. Obviously, Big Tino from Farmua, Salawi back. Regan Campbell Gillard's gone there.
Ooh.
So I've gone them at $3.75. The Dragons at $4. Another nice play.
Wow. The Dally M winner from yesteryear. And you think he can top the points. Nico Hine, he's a much maligned player, isn't he?
Is he ever?
He is, but he looks healthy. You know, and he looks like he's put on a bit of weight. He's a bigger body now, which I think helps. But we're talking top point scorer, of course. So $17. I think Cronulla will have a good year. I think they'll make the top 4 again, to be totally honest. So if they're winning, he's scoring points. That's the bottom line. So, yeah, $17, he's a handy play.
Now you got a duo for most tries.
I've gone Will Warbrick, the big Breck from the Melbourne Storm, at $11 on the wing. And there's a little risk one here, the Manly Sea Eagles. He won't start in the first couple of rounds. He's had ankle surgery in the off-season. But I'm talking about Jason Saab. Jason Saab's $21, Marty and Brad. So I think Manly, for me, second best drawer in the comp. I think they'll have a big year this year under Anthony Seibold. So Will Warbrick at 11 and Jason Saab at 21.
I love this multi-type bet because you've got about 3 or 4 teams that you want to string together for unders and overs and the amount of wins they have for the season.
Yeah, I do like it. Season wins, if you go on the tab touch, you just go in there, season wins. So what I've done, the Sea Eagles, over 13.5. So obviously got to win 14. And then the Titans, over 10.5. Now, that's the risk one. You know, that's got to be a big improvement. Then the Raiders, got the best draw in the competition, the Raiders, over 9.5. And then the Dragons, over 8.5. We're getting $14.95. As I say, nice little season play, isn't it? Just watch it unfold, put a little bit on, $14.95.
Okay, what about an insight into Las Vegas? What's going to happen over there? We've got 8 teams, 4 games, 1 epic ticket tipping.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a beauty, isn't it? As you say, you got the Super League game, you got the Test match with the women's, and then of course the 2 NRL games. And you know, I think all eyes will be obviously on that first one. The Raiders v the Warriors. The Warriors disappointing last year. Can they bounce back after obviously making the top year before? And all eyes, as you say, the Raiders as well. So and then Cronulla take on the Penrith Panthers. So the defending premiers, 5 grand finals in a row, 4 premierships in a row. It's going to be that sort of game, and we'll have a good look at it next Sunday, no doubt, on the eve of the big matches. But as a spectacle, after last year's trial and error, and as you just said, Brad, they might have just realised the players are up to it. Hopefully they're growing up enough and they realise they've got a job to do. That's the bottom line. So they're all over there now, so we'll see what happens this week.
Beautiful, man.
Okay, and just interesting yesterday listening to some of the work from Rob Gronkowski, the NFL star, 4 rings for the big man, who was working beautifully at Caulfield. Gee, he gave the NRL a big rap, and he's totally invested in them coming across to Las Vegas and playing these games.
Well, I think the big reason, Marty, is at the end of the day, they've invested into America, haven't they? The NRL. He wants Volandis. We know what he does. Everything he touches normally turns to gold. So he's shown the interest, and I think all of a sudden, second year on, you know what they're going to be excited about next Sunday, boys? And this is the big one for me. They're going to be, okay, we saw what we saw last year with the men playing. Wait till they see the women ripping each other's heads off. That's the American public will be, you watch all the publicity after the women's test. The American people are going, oh, what is happening here? So, it's good that Rob's, as you said, just really talking about it. And I think the big thing is because the NRL have invested into America.
First name terms, I notice, Sully, you don't waste any time. Just old Rob's over there doing his best. You're pretty good.
He's a good man to have in your corner, though, isn't he?
Oh, yeah, of course he is. We'd rather be with
cynical,
him.
If I could be cynical for a second, I think it might have helped too, Sully, that what the corporate bookmakers might have been parting with allegedly $1.2 million for him to be here. So I'd be saying nice things too.
That's good work if you can get it, Brad. Come on. He's won four rings. He's entitled to it. Hey, Sul, always good to chat. We need to get into some racing. That's coming up next. We'll do it again next week.
Absolutely, boys. I'll tweet those season predictions now, and
X them out, mate,
as the week rolls on. Look forward to chatting next week.
See
you, boys.
Racing and sport from different angles. You're listening to the Aftermath on Tab Radio Racing and Sport.
Yes, with Brad Hardie, Marty Young and Chris Nelson. Very good morning.
Good morning, Marty. Good morning, Brad.
G'day, Chris. Great to be with you. How did you think Rose Hill played yesterday? They seem to be getting it. Well, they should have got an even spread. They were sort of coming from everywhere, weren't they? But maybe a little bit of
fence a bit off,
but enough.
I don't know. Then you got Time to Boogie winning the last against the fence.
Yeah.
And you had Dark Glitter fly home along the inside earlier against the fence. So I don't know. Is it just? I mean, we have the same problem up here as well. Is it just that the jockeys don't go to the fence?
Yeah.
That everyone thinks the fence is off? I don't know. I really don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah. Can I? Anyway, I wish this one had gone to the fence, but I was massive tip and cave in on Macarena. Unfortunately, didn't start my day too well.
It's a funny old race, that one, the Macarena race, because there was absolutely no speed early. So those up on speed, or even close to the speed, should have dominated late. I mean, they ran home 33.75, and the winners come from fifth. The second horse, Dark Glitter, who I just mentioned there, got up along the fence and came from second last. Now, those up on speed, Macarena, who was off the map into a $1.65 favourite, a little bit of work early, but not much, and they weren't going hard to get outside the leader. Watch My Girl. She didn't offer a lot when the chips were down. And Scarlet Oak, who I've always been a rat for, but I think I've overrated her, she had a lovely run in behind the speed and every possible chance. And, yeah, those on-pace horses, Scarlet Oak, Macarena particularly, should have fought out the finish. Yet those two others came from behind. Now, Firestorm was probably a little underrated, 4 starts prior to yesterday for 3 wins first up, so now 5 for 4 wins. So obviously a very good first up mare. So don't know about the format of the race, but that's the way it panned out.
A lot of eyeballs on the Silver Slipper with the Golden Slipper, not that far away now. And there was a right royal upset. Baywalk wins for Cummings and Hieronymus. West of Swindon, very good, and Woderton, no luck.
Sure.
Now, and he was super, wasn't he? He was really good. I mean, he drew that gate. McAvoy didn't want to really sit out there 3 wide, obviously, but that's the way it was always going to pan out. And then he wanted to over-race, and then he pulled his way forward a little bit to let him slide a little bit with no cover. So absolutely everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong, yet he was the one that was finishing off, I'd say, pretty much. There's one back in the field I'll get to in a minute, but he was finishing off the race very strongly, better than Baywhack, better than West of Swindon. So the run was huge. He'll have lost no admirers going towards the Golden Slipper. First 3, I think, are all worth following. Baywhack, West of Swindon, Woden, and Buffalo. David Atkins trains. Only 1 start prior at Newcastle, running on well in that Max Lees Classic. Didn't have a lot of luck there. It was the one that really hit the line the last 100 metres. Might find 1,200 metres too short. Might be a horse for a size or a champagne, but yeah, very good late was Buffalo, but I think Woderton is the one to follow also out of that race.
I'm not as wrapped up in Woderton as everyone else is for this slipper. And this is on Tab Touch, and we spoke about it 2 weeks ago, the filly of Gaze who beat Baywalk last start and beat it well. It's $23 Ballazane. It's $15 at a lot of other places, so you should be shopping now because it'll go around in the Sweet Embrace.
I'm a bit like you, Marty. I'm not as wrapped as Woderton as everybody else is, but I can't find anything there that
I just told you.
I know you've given me one now, so I'll just log in. And
it was 50s 2 weeks ago.
When you were on, obviously.
Well, I did actually miss it. It got 34s.
Oh, that's okay. You never knock that back. But there's just it's a year where there's just nothing else jumping up.
Agree.
I'm respecting your opinion there. Yeah, but there's just nothing else jumping up saying, yeah, I'm a really good 2-year-old. So
if you drill down, if you drill down and really do your form in it, they're all interconnected some way or another through trials, through races, and that's why you can actually get a bit of a handle on it.
Well, I'll have to do that. But if I do that, I'm going to come up with the same one that you've come up with, Bellazane.
Well,
I don't need to.
there's nothing wrong with that. Look, there was a horse who won at Canberra on Friday in the Opal preview, called Farsighted, the $1.2 million colt. That was pretty impressive.
Okay. Well, I mean, Canberra's a long way from... There's that step up in class. There's always the group. What about that... Oh, no, I think that went around the Blue Diamond yesterday. That one of the Godolphins that was very good at in Rose Hill a few weeks ago was unlucky. I think that went around and finished out the back. And it went out. Didn't that go around yesterday?
It did. Yeah, it was a messy race at Blue Diamond. A lot of form out of Caulfield. We'll have question marks. We'll talk about that too with Ralphy in a minute.
Yeah. Well, Chris, the Saturday Saviour began in race 8 in Hobartville. The class was back on show.
Yeah, thank God for that. And, he had a beautiful run, didn't he? He had the perfect trip, one out, one backboard siding. He got out to a ridiculous price. I know we always say that after the race, but almost $3 was a bit much for a horse of his stature. I mean, and he put them away at about 200-metre mark. Swift Falcon, I thought, was very, very good. Came from the back of the field and ran broadsiding to less than a length on the line. Those two definitely worth following all through the autumn. Swift Falcon was a terrific return. Aliana, nothing wrong with that run. Linebacker got further back than they wanted to, but did run on okay late.
Okay, on to race number 9, and Ducasse first up for Michael Freedman, Tim Clark.
Oh, I can't catch this one. Ducasse, a good win, heavily backed. The tempo suited. They went very hard here. Coastwatch set a really strong tempo. Headley Grange was doing the chasing. Blinker's first time, was a bit keen in the run and took Ducasse quite some time to get past Headley Grange late. Run of the race, clearly Headley Grange. Outstanding effort considering the pace they went early. But I don't know how many more runs are in Headley Grange. Been up for quite some time and things are going to get a bit tougher now. But look, if we get another one, definitely worth following Headley Grange. Ducasse will want further now. As for the rest of them, nothing much else. The Coastwatch led.
No, Brad and Chris, just before we get going, our Anchorage's win in that Parramatta Cup. Gee, this horse has gone to another level for Bjorn this campaign by Galileo's put 4 in a row together. Gee, I thought that was a great fighting victory there yesterday. He was there to be beaten and was able to fight them off.
He did. He just kept fighting them off, and there was, only less than a length between the first 3. And that big weight drop was the key for him. So up you went in class and down you went in the weights, and that sold the tail there late, probably being able to hold off Palmetto. But where does he go from here? Or he just keeps on stepping up to a different level. It's going to get tougher and tougher, but I'd keep going with him. He might head towards the Sydney Cup.
Yep.
Yeah, and Chris, I think Ducasse was a little bit lighter than the other reason as well. That might have helped it a bit. Let's go up to Doomben in race 3. Exactly. The cutest Jewel Prelude. Pretty good win, this one by Robert Heathcote. He can find one, can't he?
He can, and he's currently holidaying in Japan in the snowfields. I think he gets back today, so it'll be a nice little present for him to come back to, but I'm sure he's well aware of it. Pretty Dubious had trialled really well. And then that first up, that debut performance, he led, and he didn't offer a lot in the straight, but he was run down by Sunrays, who we'll get to in a moment. So obviously took a lot of benefit from that run. And yesterday didn't dictate. Tempo was quite solid both ends of the race. The first 3 out here were the first 3 home. They'll all head to the 2-year-olds duel in a couple of weeks at the Gold Coast. Penrod probably was the disappointment. Never a chance. A bit of a market drifter, but still started favourite. So pretty dubious. Very hard to beat at the Gold Coast in a couple of weeks.
Unbeaten Hellbent filly. How good was she, Sunrays? 3 deep the entire. Gave them all weight and beat them again.
Yep, 3 from 3 for Sunrays. I think she was even 4 wide early. 3 wide most of the way. Certainly had no cover. And I thought on the line, Vivica, the second horse, who was having its first start, ran really well. But Sunrays was definitely holding Vivica late. And I think that's a massive effort considering, as we just said, how much ground she covered in the run. So all honours with Sunrays. There was one that ran on late, All Glass, first starter. Missed the kick by about 2 or 3 lengths and made some good late ground. And the one I tipped, guys, Carbonara, beautifully named Carbonara. I couldn't afford Carbonara after that run. It missed the start by about 10 lengths. Red at the start, and that was the end of it. So forgive Carbonara, who was very, very heavily backed into 350.
Yeah. CJ Graham had a nice day there yesterday. She backed it up in race 7 with Dream Smart, Astapor. Unlucky or not?
Maybe. maybe. Held up, followed the winner through late. Probably not. I mean, Dream Smart. Liam Birchley trains Dream Smart. He's been around a long time. He gave it away, and he came back, and the first few horses he had go around couldn't get out of their own way, which was strange. But he's taken his time, and now I reckon his strike rate up here, and I'll check that this week, is through the roof. And this one didn't have a trial, missed a gallop, heavily backed into $6 and threw along the fence late for CJ Graham, who rode 4 winners, as you mentioned yesterday, Brad. So all honours with the stable and the ride and the horse. Just keep following Liam Birchley. Just training winners all over the place. Astapor was good, no doubt about that. Probably just with a bit more room earlier would have made it interesting. But all honours with the winner and the others there. Cosmo Centaurus, well, he was nearer to the outside fence than the inside fence. You just forgive his run completely. Gee, did he cover some ground.
So the Chris Nelson horses to follow, and then we'll get the winners on the Sunshine Coast.
Rose Hill, Swift Falcon and Headley Grange, if there's another run for Headley Grange before spelling. Doomben, obviously Sunrays, and a massive forgive there, Cosmo Centaurus. I'm sure we'll see him in a few weeks' time also. Sunny Coast today, we have a 9-metre rail, so you do not want to get back in the field and be hooking to the outside at the top of the straight. You'll last about 200 metres, and then you'll just completely fold up. Race 5, number 3, Mr. Babaluski, and race 7, number 3, Miragical, first up.
5373. Chris, we'll listen in on Wednesday morning.
Thanks, guys. Have a great Sunday.
Okay, Racetrack Ralphy not far away from joining us early this morning, the Saudi Cup. Here's the replay.
Young on the outside, disputing it with Walk of Stars. Right round the outside, Romantic Warrior will be 5 wide into the turn, but he's poised under James McDonald as the big 2 move through. Forever Young, Romantic Warrior sweeps up on the outside for Hong Kong. They lock horns, and it's Romantic Warrior who finds most initially from Forever Young in second place. The 2 of them are clear from Wilson Tesoro and Factor Cheval, 2 of the great racehorses in the world. And at the moment, Romantic Warrior holds sway. His rider looks across. Forever Young is trying to close, and he's beginning to do so. Romantic Warrior from the outside. Forever Young has got to within 3 parts of a length. Romantic Warrior, Forever Young, a race for the ages, and Forever Young rounds off a terrific night for Japan, runs down Romantic Warrior and breaks Hong Kong.
Wow, Bradley, what a race this was. The Group 1 Saudi Cup, 20 million US up for grabs. He looked home, Romantic Warrior. Forever Young off the canvas, the Japanese horse. And they staged, as he said, a race from the ages.
Certainly was, no doubt about that. And they use that all the time, don't they? Oh, got off the canvas. Well, this horse did get off the canvas. I mean, It looked as though, for all intents and purposes, J-Mank had him cold there. And I don't know how long that straight is, Marty, but the back straight's long enough. And then the front straight, well, it's not Moonee Valley, it's not Flemington, but it's about both of them put together. It seemed like it. He must have been absolutely home for all money, he thought, on Romantic Warrior, but somehow...
You watch Jay Mackey, he has a sneaky look out the left side, doesn't he? And let's welcome in Racetrack Ralphy right now. G'day, Ralphy.
Good morning, boys. I was just stuck on you saying 20 million US and thinking, gee, I wonder why J-Mac didn't stay in Sydney to ride broadsiding for 227,000.
Exactly right. Spoken like an ex-jockey manager, but... I don't know if have you seen the race, the Saudi Cup?
I have. Well, I saw the home straight. Yeah. And, well, we did. What do you reckon that might have been priced in the run at that stage?
Wow.
Is it shorter than $1?
Peter Lowe would have been thinking, I shouldn't think of the money yet, but it would have flashed through his brain for a minute, I'm sure.
What a night horse. Is there a race in Iceland for him or something, or Czechoslovakia?
Hungry?
Yeah, that's it.
Now, tell us about Caulfield yesterday. There was so much spoken about what was going to happen with the 40K northerly winds, 37 degrees. It's never been hot on a racecourse before. And what happened? Yes,
so... firstly, it doesn't change the fact that when there's a severe northerly, you want to get cover. I've really agonised over this. I think what happened last meeting, which is the Orr Stakes, when the track was overwatered after post-renovation, I think it created a big rock-hard lane. There was a leader's highway. You had to be within 3 of the fence. 9 of the 10 winners were there, and Jimmy Starr was the outlier who was 5 off the fence. And really, that was the overcompensation race because they went 12 lengths faster than they did in the second. So that's the overview. I'm not necessarily criticising because, of course, you've got an outdoor sport. As you said, it was stinking hot in Melbourne, which is something that you guys are used to, and just the way it was presented. But I think if you want to, it was obviously an advantage on the rails, but if you said that most of the winners were deserved winners, I would say that's 100% correct too.
And morning, Ralphie. Let's get to the futurity first. What a great race it was. It was fantastic. And there was a bit of brinkmanship right up to the day because Peter Moody, if it gets too hard, I'm not going to run, and end up going around a good 3. And he did run I Wish I Win. It looked like it was ready to pounce there at the top of the straight. He's a marvel, Mr. Brightside, isn't he?
Is he ever?
Yeah, look, I'm pretty confident this is going to be the form race of the carnival, and that's going into the Sydney Carnival. This was a super race. Sometimes you've got to be a bit careful, blanket finishes. Well, I don't see why you should be careful of this one because they're all high-quality stars, a lot of them, and maybe a couple are going to make that next step. Mr. Brightside, my favourite stat with him, that was his 20th start yesterday at $3 or shorter. 13 wins in 7 seconds from those
Great
20
stat.
times he's been.
Yeah. Great stat. Can I just jump in, Ralph? I was only thinking about this morning. Apart from we know how good he is, he was backed into $1.70. And when punters are backing horses, as you just said, $3 or under and they keep winning, you can see why he's so popular.
Yes, and it also creates an avalanche. Now, you pay on the line.
Yep.
I think we can safely say that Tom Kitten should have won, but that cue to the tote window where it says the shouldas doesn't pay a lot as a general rule. So that was part of the avalanche. He's just such a punter's pal. He turns up, and you need to, as they say in The Wire, if you want to come at the king, you better not miss, and that's what happened. So he makes his own luck. He was super. I do think he's vulnerable in the All-Star Mile, not because he won't be bringing his A game, but I think there's every chance Tom Kitten's going to go to a new level this time in.
I agree.
This is second prep as a gelding. His Spring Champion Stakes win was phenomenal. Didn't really come up in the autumn. Booming first up win last prep, and then sort of floated a bit, but was very good in that Golden Eagle. That was a brutal race. His trial leading in was super. And I think he's next. And if you think that's the case, also he was $26 before the All-Star Mile, and I didn't have any of it. So that probably gives it 3 lengths, doesn't it?
But also, I don't think they're going to stretch him out as much. I heard James Cummings say that as well, which will be important for him.
Well, there you go. So that adds to it. As Brad said, I Wish I Win was just super. Very soft in the market. I'm just trying to work out why. And, I suppose the market wanted to see him really come back and deliver his A game, and it's the push and pull of the avalanche for Mr. Brightside. So the fact that he's turned up and ran so well, I'd love to see to know definitively where he's going next start. I saw on Tab Touch, I think he's $15 for the All-Star Mile. How could you say he couldn't win off that as well? Because he's going to improve again. Evaporate, stuck out 3 wide the trip. He's going to a New Zealand slot race, so he'll be winning a race. I think they'll find something with Light Infantry Man. Yep. And Pericles will improve. He always does improve second up as well. So there's just your starting point.
I'll get your summation at the end. Was the winner or potential winner of the Golden Slipper in the Blue Diamond? How did you rate the race? It was a fantastic, big result. Devil Knight, couldn't understand why it was about 4 times the price of the fave because there wasn't much between them. But somebody left it in the bag on the favourite on Tab Touch.
Yep.
What did you make of it, Ralphie? What did you think?
Just a little bit of a coma job here, boys. Tycoon start, $26 was nice.
Thought you'd be on it.
And I think this underlines how the track played as well because Devil Knight barrier 2, Tentris Lane barrier 4 for Damien Lane, followed through Devil Knight, and Tycoon Star was really the only one who tested it super wide, and I think he was phenomenal. I really want to be on him if they meet in the size produce, but to your first question, Brad, I think there's been nothing so far that said the Melbourne horses are up to the Sydney horses, and the fact that the Freeman's backed up Centrist off such a slow race last week and it ran so well. It's a fair question with Devil Knight. I think that was one of the race circumstance, and there's that niggling doubt with field of play that he had the vet inspection on the Thursday and Friday, and was Was he 100%? That's probably a query too. So Devil Knight was 100%. And just another little stat there. Do you know who rode Devil Knight previous start?
Devil Knight
Shane Sully. Yeah,
Yeah.
It wasn't a huge summer. It wasn't a huge summer for the FIFOs. Let's be honest.
No, I'm getting over the Hobart Cup. I'm still getting over that.
Great. One of the greats. One of the greats.
I might have thrown a bit of Burley over the edge of the boat there for you.
Thanks, mate. I know Zara's on it when it starts in the Launceston Cup.
That's it.
I agree with all of that. Autumn Mysteries one is just starting to warm up a bit too, wants the 14 to the mile. And with field of play, completely lost it in the mounting yard, didn't he? He was a muck lather, so I think he might have just come to the end of it. Yep. What about this?
Every chance.
Sorry.
Go on.
No, you go.
No, into the Oakley Plate. Jimmy Starr, maybe he is a star. He might be the best sprinter in Australia. So let's try and think of some logic. He was amazing at Caulfield this time last year on All Stakes Day, but off a short break. And one of the things we start looking at recently is those, I think we call it a bounce theory, that, you know, if off a short break, a horse can do a phenomenal first up run, and then that's it for the prep. So then they spelled it. He was unbelievable first up winning over. Now, it was over Ashford Street, but this was a day where you couldn't really make ground, and he did. And then he's gone to another level here. He's ex-New Zealand. I heard Kieran Maher during the week say that you know, he thinks he's going to a new level, just, you know, the longer they're in his stable. And how can that phenomenal closing speed be ruled out in a race like the Everest at Randwick? Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if they tested TJ Smith. Of course, it could be a heavy track, given the Sydney Autumn. Who knows? She's bulletproof. Amazing effort by Charlotte Littlefield to have this mare just continue to come to play. I think the only time it really disappointed her, she put her hand up and said they were soft on her before that Geelong run when she was beaten. And she's just maintained her level through the summer and ran well again. And Ethan Brown, one of the reasons I think he's making that next step is he makes the right decisions. And yesterday he just followed Craig Williams everywhere. There was some horses on the inside. This was the overcompensation race that the horses on the inside were jammed if they were trying to make ground. Whereas the momentum runners, and again, the momentum runners normally in a race like this would be out 10, 15 off the fence. They were only off 4 off the fence. So that sort of shows you how the race played, but very even sort of bunch outside the winner.
And Ralphy, just a little bit, I don't mind, I put it in the black book. I followed it all through its career. Headwall was a nice fourth.
Yeah,
I mean, he'll be picking up a race somewhere soon.
Yeah, absolutely. He's very good when he travels his horses, Matthew Smith. They usually run very well here, and of course it's exceeded expectations. And I suppose the genuinely unlucky runner was Prairie Flower. I wouldn't be surprised if it could have run third or fourth if it got some momentum. It's just flying there for the new team over in South Australia.
It was right of the day for mine, Ethan Brown. He just as you said, Craig Williams, if he had a rearview mirror, he would have been just going, oh no, look at this. And Williams couldn't have ridden her any better. And Brown just tracked him everywhere he went and mowed him down in the straight. A terrific race. Always is, the Oakley Plate. Love it.
100%.
Can you remember, I know it's a long, long time ago, Brad will remember it, but do you think a horse will ever do the treble again like Placid Arc did? I don't think. How can you win a Lightning, an Oakley Plate and a Newmarket? You can't do it, can you? Not in modern day.
Could I say it was a different era?
Yeah, you can. It just goes to show how good it was. Now, Chanois, this was in the Autumn Classic. Kieran Maher, wow. He said it was his best anywhere on Friday morning on RSN, and he was right.
First prep as a gelding, and you know, how do we put a ceiling on this horse off that sort of dominant win? And yes, This was before everyone realised you could lead, but Blake just completely tagged, emphasised through the run, emphasised. I start looking at this. Fourth run, first prep, you're always going to be a bit careful. At some stage, it comes to an end. I think that was the case to emphasise because, as the day showed, you could lead and win. So, but Chanois was dominant. The others, I reckon he switched off to 200 out. So, he could be a very, very exciting stayer, Chanois. And like I said, while the track played a certain way, there were most of the winners yesterday were thoroughly deserved winners.
Back to the first, Ralphie, we're still, obviously the conditions we're all waiting to see, and small field, and it's a nice little horse, this. Graham Beck's got going, it keeps winning.
Burley.
Yeah, absolutely. The only defeat was up the straight, so and the market said it was going to turn up. But small field. What I really like out of this going forward for the punters is Miss Aria. I was trying to find a race for it, but its profile is definitely best at 1,400. And the fact that they wanted to back it and it ran so well, I think it's probably one of the black bookers away from the big races from yesterday.
Mickey D, did he give Widder's Edge a ride from Barrow 6?
Yeah, it was a fun watch, this one.
It was.
But I'll tell you what, it wasn't a fun watch because I put it down as a roughie. I've mentioned this horse, the horse that followed Luna Cat in her first 2 runs, and then she just didn't turn up at all at Flemington, and they freshened her up. This team is so good, Team Hayes. They are so good. If you want to spec one on a Saturday, just back their horses at a big odds because they just keep on turning up. So it's just Miss Luna Cat. They've got it right again, but this was a terrific ride, Winner's Edge, and they space the rest. I think that we can leave that race there.
Tropicus dominated from the front for Mark Zara.
Again, let the best jockeys work it out, and I would have been prepared to hold the horse for the vet today if it got beaten yesterday, because I reckon it was straight to the gelding job if it lost yesterday, but it didn't, and it's got more to come. They're going to keep it as a sprinter. I wouldn't even be surprised. What's that good new newish Group 1 in Sydney, Randwick 1200? They might even go down that path. But yeah, I think he's got another race to him. Yep.
Second horse is good, Lofty Arch.
Absolutely, and Sergeant Major, I think he's a miler, so this was not a bad form race either.
Oaks winner was good in the Armanasco.
Yeah, well, it's a tried and true method, isn't it? If they've got a bit of class and they win the Oaks, doesn't necessarily mean they're a stayer. It means they're just better than the opposition against them. So she's got more to come. Damien was happy to dominate the race. Tudor and Lizzie, if she splits from Trish at the moment, love to see her at Moonee Valley. That could be her go, leading throughout when now she's had this fitness benefit.
Yeah, cool. Volant just sat in the slipstream of Grinzinger Bell, who went a bit hard, and just put him away.
This was unbelievable. Now, this is probably what you wanted to see from her last trip. She didn't really come up. She's only 1.3 slower than Mr. Brightside, and she smashed him in the blinkers. She's got more wins to come in this Volant for sure. She's one of the winners you can really follow with confidence from the day.
And denied knowledge in the last made it a big day for you, Long.
Yeah, and she's going to run big in the Australian Cup too. Don't know if she'll win it, but she's going to give them something to chase.
Horses to follow.
Miss Aria and something weaker, and most of those winners, Tropicus, and just follow that Futurity Stakes form for sure.
Beautifully done. You can get all that information, racetrackralphy.com.au. We'll do it again next Sunday.
On you, Ralph.
Good on you, boys.
Good morning, Marty and Brad. Can you please explain to your listeners the daily newspapers in Melbourne cover all AFL football clubs and players? Do they put any one player above all? Because here in Perth, there is only one player who plays AFL. The papers and media here should look at the big picture. No one player is bigger than the game. P.S. not Harley's fault. The problem is the narrow-minded media. That is from Snoz. Good morning, Snozzer.
Yeah, no, they do give it a really good go over here, but they're competing a lot more. There's 10 teams here in Melbourne, as you know, Marty, so they're a little bit more forthcoming, and there seems to be a sweetheart deal between the local paper over your way and the two clubs, because there's very, very little poorly written about those particular clubs, and they just seem to pick out a couple of targets, and they run them till they run them ragged. Unbelievable, I agree. Lazy journalism, mate.
Okay, I like getting on a website called Zero Hanger for AFL news, and it says here, AFL player allegedly charged with rape and string of sexual assault offences. Has that made the news over there?
Oh yeah, that was a front page of the newspaper here yesterday, and again, lawyers go to bat, and suppression orders are sought and got. So unfortunately, and it's bloody wrong, and in a sense, because there's a few little details, few little clues, and people start guessing. And Marty, you're on those platforms. I'm not on them, but I can imagine there'd be names going around left, right, and centre, and some of them won't be anywhere near it. You know what I mean? But it doesn't stop the punters out there or the keyboard warriors throwing out names, and it's really tough on those who aren't involved, who are getting named and they're not actually involved.
Is that because it says the offence has occurred in the Geelong area?
Yes, correct. So everybody's going, I wonder who it is. I reckon I've heard it's this guy, or I've heard it's that one. And it's not right. And as I say, Understandable, because you've got to get a fair hearing through the court system. But in this day and age, with these social media platforms, there's a lot of blokes and girls and whatever who get named and shamed who have got absolutely nothing to do with the particular issue.
Hi guys, Bluey here. With the West Coast Eagles lacking quality tools and Flynn under injury cloud again, why didn't they get another ruck with the SSP draft before the season starts? They left the space empty to replace Sheed with a season-ending injury.
Yeah, well, I thought they would have done that change. And maybe I don't get it either, Marty. I really don't. Obviously, we thought he'd probably retire, but it's not. Obviously, he's got different thoughts on that. I don't know, but I'm with Rusty on that one because of the fact that you go for need, and that's why that Henderson ended up going to Melbourne, because they didn't need another midfielder. Clearly, I reckon that Bo Allen can step up to that. I know he's going to start back, but I think eventually he'll graduate into that midfield alongside Elliot, Harley Reid, etc. Tim Kelly. I thought they needed a defender to help McGovern, and they did that. I thought, along with Rusty, I think they should have been out there trying to pinch someone else's ruckman, because most of them are going to go with one ruck and a backup. But I'm not sure what the West Coast are going to do, to be honest. And clearly they don't believe that Bailey Williams is the man.
Well, no lazy journalism here with Lisa of Allenbrook. This is probably season best, Lisa, from you. Top marks here. Watched the Delhi Capitals and Warriors WPL cricket last night. Player of the match, Chanel Henry, 62 of 23. That included 8 sixes, 3 fours, strike rate of 270, and she equals the fastest 50 in WPL history of 18 balls. Sensational batting. Guys, if you can find the video, it's worth a look. Huge crowd at the Eagles intra-club match yesterday, and from all reports, fans are happy with the way they're seeing faster ball movement. I did see that in their first match as well. Players looking fitter. The younger guys continue to impress, in particular Hewitt, Dewar, Allen. Harley Reid played for 3 quarters and was at his explosive best, similar to his debut last season. The ruck position is still a problem. No Matt Flynn yesterday. Archer Reid played forward ruck to back Bailey Williams, kick 2 goals. One of the many bad mistakes the Eagles made was re-signing Nick for another 2 years, never made it back, had to retire. They had Lloyd Meek right under their nose. He was what they needed. Brad, has the club been named in the EDFL for their $180,000 salary cap breach? Have a great weekend, everyone, and enjoy Ginger Jane's birthday lunch today. It's a big one down there in Mandurah. So, what about this EDFL breach?
It's Keilor, obviously the Mickey McGuan, who won the last couple of premierships. And, look, I haven't seen all the details. Some are suggesting somewhere between 100 and 180,000 over the salary cap, which is a fair bit. But anyway, we'll wait and see until all of the facts are tabled. But unfortunately, people were dancing around the name. I don't know why. I mean, everybody knew. Again, social media was just a gush with it. But the bottom line is that, so everybody took the long handle to it. Oh, anybody involved and knew about this should be sacked, And, of course, that was coming from all the other clubs who probably, you know what it's like, Marty, it's only a reward unless you're involved.
Yeah. Yeah, correct.
So we just have to wait till it gets tabled out there. And look, my great mate, as you know, is Brian Waldron, and he was in charge of the Storm back in those days where they went under. And he just wishes there was he had his time over again in terms of excuses, because there's a lot of excuses they pull out so they can't go you. But the bottom line is everyone was doing it, but unfortunately they got caught. And suffered the consequences.
Chris of Como has written in, for decades, the Sunday Times has published a full-page, excellent summary of Sunday's Perth race meetings. Recently, the last 600-metre sectionals for each race has stopped being published. This is disappointing, and if sports editor Glenn Quartermain is listening, could he see that this is very important stat needs to be reinstated? Well, when they go to air, obviously those stats are available, so it's just been a matter of they've stopped publishing them, and hopefully they can put them back in. Rusty Gates is always good. Hi, Marty and Brad. Watching snippets of the Fremantle season launch this week, I couldn't get a hit song by the Four Tops. It's the same old song out of my head. is probably because it seems that every season Fremantle have the answer by recruiting someone either on the playing field, e.g. Ben Allen, Jeff Farmer, Luke Jackson, to name a few, as star recruits. In administration, Rick Hart, Peter Bell, Dale Alcott, Steve Rossich, Simon Garlick, who was the breath of fresh air that the club needed to steer them in the right direction. Now they are saying that the recruitment of Shea Bolton is the missing link to take them to premiership glory. Let's hope this is the case for the long-suffering Dockers supporters, but for some reason I can't get that song out of my head. That is Rusty Gates. Well done, Rusty.
Oh, yeah, I know it. And I didn't see it, but someone told me about it, the new chairman, and good on him. He was pretty succinct and pretty short. He said the time for talking's over. It's time for action. No doubt about that one. Singing that from that hymn book. Everyone sings from that hymn book every year. The bottom line was that the problem with Garlo has got, and he hasn't made many mistakes down there, is that I think it was 2021. They said they were going to win 2 flags, one men, one women's, by 2025. Yeah. Well, hello. Yeah. This is it. So what's the accountability factor? People ask. Well, we don't know. I mean, they didn't put their agates on the line. If we don't do it, we'll walk. That wasn't in the equation. But yeah, as I say, just a big year for Freo and everybody concerned.
Well, time to talk cricket. Courtney Walsh is online. We've had a massive game of cricket in the Champions Trophy last night, and let's talk about it. Australia 5 for 356. Rounded up the Poms 8 for 351. Tell us about this match, Court, and a very good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning, Marty and Brad. Really quite extraordinary. Records falling left, right and centre, but capped off by just an extraordinary innings from Josh Inglis. 120, made his 100 off 77 balls. The 5th Australian to now have a century in all 3 formats. It's quite incredible, given that Test century a couple of weeks ago in Sri Lanka, to then play so superbly when Australia had a massive task set for them, to be able to lead Australia to the biggest run chasing ICC tournament history. That's obviously the World Cups and also the Champions Trophies. Just an exceptional effort, and incredibly. When Ben Duckett scores 165, which is the highest ever score in an ICC tournament, not man of the match. Josh Inglis played so well that he was able to take that honour from the bloke who set the record. It was just a phenomenal match.
Courtney, great morning to you. I'm just going to, obviously we've found an opener in short. As you say, you've got to sing the praises of Inglis and Carey, because let's face it, Inglis took the gloves and Carey took a magnificent catch, and they both combined for a match-winning partnership.
Yeah, well, to remove Salt in the fashion that he did, it was. If you haven't seen it, try and find it online. It was the inaugural GWS Giants captain taking a specky in the Oval. It was just phenomenal work from Carey, and he ended up finishing with 3 catches. There was another really good catch later in the innings. So he's clearly got his eye in with the bat, and in terms of fielding, just extraordinary as well. And when you see, it's interesting when you see Inglis in the field. In the Test, he was pretty sharp in the field as well. So our wicket keepers, we're certainly not short of, I suppose, multi-purpose cricketers. There was a period where we wondered whether or not we could play Alex Carey and Josh Inglis in the same team. Well, the way they're going, I'd be staggered if Inglis doesn't get an opportunity in the World Test Championship, given look, it's a different format, but he's just the way he's maturing. And I noticed that a very experienced journalist suggested that in coming years, Inglis, given his temperament, he could well be a candidate to lead Australia in all 3 formats. He's such an accomplished player, but also such a clear thinker. So, heady praise for a man who wins Australia its first Champions Trophy match since 2009.
So let's run through it. England bat first. As you mentioned, that magnificent catch, and their 1 for 13 Salt goes, and then Smith goes again, caught Carey, and they are 2 for 43. Then a magnificent partnership by Duckett and Root got them to 3 for 201. And then from there, they were able to get and set this magnificent total, which they set at 8 for 351.
Yeah, it was interesting. So it was, I suppose, considered a gamble by Australia won the toss. Steve Smith won the toss and sent England into bat, mindful that if the dew came into play later in the day, in the evening, it might well make it a little easier to chase. But when they're making 351, which I think was a record total in itself, again, for a champion sort of trophy match, you're wondering whether that gamble's on the song. Big Benny D at the top of the order did in 3 wickets. I thought that was really good. Zampa, Duckett really took to Zampa. He scored 50 from 36 deliveries from the Australian leg spinner. But Zampa had his moments. Removing Root, who was obviously very dangerous, and interesting, he batted at 4 instead of number 3, whereas he's probably more accustomed to batting. They elevated their wicketkeeper. That was critical. And then at the end, Marnus, Labuschagne with a couple of off spinners, and Maxwell was effective with the soft spinners. So, look, the Aussies conceded, the Aussie pacemen, inexperienced pace attack. It's the first time in 9 years we haven't had the big three, any of the big three in that attack. They conceded 6.5 runs and over about 27 overs. And you're thinking, well, that's quite a lot. Certainly Spencer Johnson, I think Smith may have lost some faith in him late. He turned to Labuschagne to bowl at the death instead of Spencer Johnson. But when you put it into context, when you look at the English pacemen, now Mark Wood bowled what is recorded to be the fastest 4-over spell seen by an English cricketer in a tournament. He was averaging over 150 clicks an hour, and he knocked over Travis Head and Steve Smith early on. So he was formidable early. But the English pacemen and more experienced attack, they ended up going for 8.5 runs and over. Jofra Archer was 8.5 runs over his 10 overs. So the Aussie inexperienced attack, even though they leaked 6.5 runs and over, in context is everything, and that probably was pretty effective. Nathan Ellis didn't take a wicket, but he only went at 5 runs and over. So it was, in the end, quite a decent performance. And then to turn it around, after losing Head and Smith so early in that run chase, to be 4 for 135 and facing a big moment. You're right, Brad's right about Short. I think that's I don't think we'll see Jake Fraser McGurk in this tournament based on what we saw with Short at the top of the order. I think he continues to play in the last 2 round-robin matches and hopefully the semi-finals and final if they can get through. But to go from 4 for 135 to see Inglis and Carey bat with the distinction with which they did. I think Carey had a life just before he reached his half-century, but he's just been so superb over the last 12 months, Alex Carey. And then for Glenn Maxwell to come back into the death and just take to Mark Wood like he did, to score that rapid fire sort of 31 or 15 balls. While he's a match winner, Maxwell, we've seen it time and again in these big trophies, and he seems to save his best for the biggest matches. And what a performance it was.
Courtney, you mentioned in Dispatches the World Test Championship, and you were singing the praises, and rightfully so, of Inglis. I mean, how much has this blurred the lines, in this tournament? It's only 1 game old, we know that. So how much do you think it's blurred? We've got Cameron Green in the wings, hoping to play the last Sheffield Shield game for WA, hopefully a final, and then go to county cricket. We thought Labuschagne was under enormous pressure. He hit 47 and bowled okay yesterday. Yep. Where does it leave the longer game as in the World Test Championship? Where do you think it sits?
Well, there's probably 3 alternates you're looking at, 3, depending on which way they go. And I think it's Labuschagne Inglis, which way they decide to go there. Labuschagne has been very much out of form, obviously, in Test cricket. He did make a good 47, and maybe we see what happens in the next couple of matches. It's a different format and the county cricket. But I think those 2, either one of those 2 comes in. Then it's Green or Webster, I would imagine, if Green can prove his fitness. Webster's done absolutely nothing wrong. In fact, he's been outstanding in his tests to date in every facet of the game. So, I think Green needs to perform really well to actually win back that spot as well as he was playing. And clearly, he's been identified as a star for Australia, and he proved that in New Zealand last year, and he's proved it elsewhere. But Webster is the incumbent at the moment, and he's been playing exceptionally well. And the other one, I think, is Boland and Hazelwood. So it's interesting Hazelwood didn't play that Sheffield Shield match. He's clearly been the preferred option, and understandably, given he was rated so highly again throughout last year. I think he was the highest rated Test bowler through the year. But Boland comes back from Sri Lanka, incredibly doesn't get a bowl in Sri Lanka. He comes back and takes 10 for against New South Wales at the SCG. He's done nothing wrong. So there's basically, I think there's 3 different outcomes to look at. Interesting with South Africa, they, we see them as a weak team, but sorry, not as a weak team. They've done well to qualify, but they probably didn't go through the tougher rivals. But they clearly got talent, and I think Australia plays South Africa in the Champions Trophy next. And the way South Africa started, they were outstanding when routing Afghanistan, the other member in that other group in that team. But get through this Champions Trophy, and if the South Africans focus on the longer form, put all their eggs in that basket, it shapes as a really interesting final for mine now.
Courtney, what's the estimated viewership of this India-Pakistan game today? It gets underway 5 o'clock our time.
Yeah, well, that's. I would imagine will be. You'd be edging towards the billions, won't you?
You'd think so.
No, I mean it would have to
be a big number.
It's just a gigantic match.
Yep. Massive
match. It's fascinating that England Australia sells out in Lahore. It was a sellout crowd there, and but this match, despite it being Pakistan's trophy for reasons that we're all aware of, India playing in Dubai, so they get the home ground advantage, which seems somewhat astonishing in some regards, given it's Pakistan's right to host the tournament. But it will be watched far and wide in India and Pakistan, and I'm sure around the world as well, given the expat population. So massive match in cricket.
Just to win it from here, India 230, Australia 475, New Zealand a 550, South Africa 650, England 14, Pakistan 26. You like anything there?
Yeah, well, Pakistan needs to win tonight to actually keep their hopes alive. But look, I would think if India has that distinct home ground advantage, they have to have favourites, because it seems, again, astonishing that they can make a final and play in a final of a tournament hosted by Pakistan in Dubai, play the entirety of their tournament in Dubai. So I think they're favoured as a result there. Again, as good as we were, I wouldn't mind South Africa as the knockout blow at about $6. I think they were really strong in the first one, and they shape as probably they still shape as the second for mine, behind India. So if they're 650 or so, that looks like a reasonable price for mine.
And a quick 15 seconds, Courtney, on the Warriors, Western Warriors, that is. You think they can make the final? Lob into second behind SA?
Well, I would have had New South Wales, even though I still think New South Wales. It's interesting. I think that's a 50-50 bet. I'd love to take your note on that, but being able to find a way through against Victoria, I think that was pretty strong from New South Wales the other day.
Okay, Courtney, we've got to get cracking. Thanks for that. Big match tonight, 5 o'clock. Bye. See you, mate. There he goes. Courtney Walsh. We'll be talking to Michael Hawkes next.
Palm Angel, Miss Celine Deeper from My Gladiola, 5 off the front. Behind them, Cherish Me, Temptress, and then came Wiltshire Square. Back in the field, then Eden Rose, Extractor and Tycoon Star. It's the Playwright with Devil Knight on the outside as they reach the 300 metres. 2 lengths, Palm Angel. Field of play up the outside, My Gladiola and Tycoon Star from a long way back. Devil Knight below the 200 metres in front. Drew a length in front of Temptress and Tycoon Star. Devil Knight, 3/4. Temptress is going to put in a lunge again, but missed this time. Devil Knight from Temptress, Tycoon Star.
There is the finish of the Blue Diamond yesterday, and Devil Knight wins for Team Hawkes. Michael Hawkes joins us right now. Very good morning, Michael.
Morning, gentlemen. How are we?
We're very well. How's Team Hawkes today?
Yeah, got a bit of a raspy voice, let's just say, and I'm sure there's a few sore heads in Melbourne as well. So it was a very, very good win, very deserved, and we're extremely proud.
Michael Brad Hardie, congratulations. He was a costly colt, but he set himself up now, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has, Brad. They paid $1.4 million at the sales for him, and look, anyone knows, doesn't matter what you pay for horses, you've got to go and try and get the job done. But more so when you do pay that amount of money with the pedigree he's got, it just sets him up for life now. Like, we thought he was a top 3 chance in his first up run. He ran second. He went enormous, and I kept saying to everybody over here on the East Coast that had he have got to the outer, I think it would have been a different story. Just probably racecraft was probably his downside on that day, and, well, he's taken that racecraft and gone ahead in his second start, and he won super. If anything, he hit the front too soon, and to his credit, he dug deep and he just wanted to win. But that's the difference. He's a racehorse. He wants to win, and he toughed it out, and he's got the job done.
So you had him up there, had the 2 trials. What made you plan to take him down for the Blue Diamond? Because it's not a race that Team Hawks really target as much as a slipper.
No, it's not. We had 2 horses duly accepted in Melbourne and Sydney that day. Algorithmic was another horse, and he ended up running 4th up here in his first start. And the thinking was all about barriers, and Devil Knight drew a great marble in the prelude, and we decided to go down that path. Algorithmic drew out wide, and hence we're actually thinking of more sending Algorithmic to Melbourne and keeping Devil Knight here in Sydney. But the way it turned out, this day and age, barriers, they do win more races than not. So that's why we ended up switching. And to be fair, he'd actually been down there in Melbourne and done his early work as a baby. So he only went down on the Thursday night prior to the prelude, and just shows the testament of having the dual states that we do to get the experience into these young horses. He just went straight back into his box, and okay, he ran second, but now he's come out and he's improved again. And I spoke to Wayne on the Tuesday at track work, and he just said he worked phenomenal. He's just improved out of sight, and we were pretty confident going into the race, to be honest. And he's come away with it on top. So he's very expensive. You know, Yulong, they put a lot of money into the game. They pay 1.4, and it's not easy to do, to part with 1.4 at any time. But look, these are the results you get, and it's just amazing. It's been a wonderful ride so far.
Michael, you've done a great job in outlining how it all came together for the race. But did you change your tactics at all throughout the day? Because a very hot day, strong northerly, did all that play a part or not? Or did you just leave it up to Mickey D to sum it up and get up outside the leader early?
No, look, we didn't change anything. Barriers it was very crucial. He jumped out, and look, he may have got there too soon. The speed wasn't 100% genuine, and I know the playwright sort of slipped on the corner, and obviously Mickey didn't want it to get away too far, but it sort of got round the corner and dropped off and left him vulnerable. And really wasn't about anything about conditions. It's just more about the barrier. He jumped, he flew the machine, he got in a lovely spot. Everything else had its chance, and even Yulong's other horse was probably the run of the race, coming from well back in the field. But to our bloke's credit, he just stuck to his guns, and he's just an absolute pure racehorse, and he's got the will to win, and he just wants to win. So it just goes to show he's definitely improved from one start to the next, and that's what 2-year-olds can do.
So does he go back up to Sydney now and look at the slipper?
Yeah, we'll just let the dust settle. Obviously, we haven't spoken about that yet, but it's obviously on the radar. And for all these 2-year-olds at this time, those sort of races are on the radar. And as I said earlier, it's we can switch, and which we do. We do quite often, and people sort of wonder why, but that's why. You just got to let the horse tell you. And I know we've been an advocate for saying that over many, many years, but he's certainly a colt that's had a lot of grounding here in Sydney too. So even if he does come back and has a crack at the slipper, it's going to be no detriment to him. It's only going to hopefully increase his value if he does perform in it.
Yeah, fantastic. You had other runners around the country. I was hoping to do the Macarena in my lounge room yesterday, but it didn't quite happen. Everything all right there?
No, look, yeah, everything was fine. Look, I'm not going to deny we're probably a little bit disappointed. You can't deny that, but when you start dissecting the race, and she had to do a bit of work, and people don't realise, even though you're still rolling forward, Hinged made us work a bit more. Sort of Karen McAvoy kept poking up the inside and just made her keep working. By the time she finally got across outside leader, she's eyeballing, and you just can't bring them back on a cotton thread, especially her, because she is a front running or freewheeling sort of mare. So I thought she could have found a little bit more. I'm not going to deny that. She has pulled up well. She did have a massive blow, so she's going to definitely improve. But she's never won first up ever in her short career. So I'm not overly worried about it. She'll improve off that, and she's got hopefully better things in store for her. Let's
talk about your 2-year-old, Sydney, west of Swindon, the Wootton Bassett colt. He was very good. I like him.
Yeah, he was great. Last start, he had to go back from a bad barrier. Once again, you draw bad barriers, you just got to either go forward or back. He went back. He got to the line super. Yesterday, he drew a better marble. He was there. He got one off. And just probably round the corner, he just got a little bit lost. That's probably the racecraft of being up on speed and for something different. And that's what babies are about. He still attacked the line well. The leader probably dropped him at the top of the straight. But in saying that, the leader was fit. It was its third run in. We were first up. We were very happy. He hit the line good. He ran through the bridle. Once again, it's just about what we do now and where we go. But he's definitely a colt, obviously, for the future, that's for sure.
It's probably asking a silly question. It's like asking which kid do you love most. Have you got a favourite of your babies that you actually like?
Oh, look, from Gallo Neros to, Devil Knights to Wadottons, not Wadotton, Wester Swin, sorry, even Wadotton, I'm a fan of his, he's a Wootton Bassett. Like, they're all, I think they're just a very even bunch of 2-year-olds at the moment. And, but to go and do what, Devil Knight's done, it's got to be up there. Like a second start. Like that, you're talking Reduced Choice sort of thing, really.
Algorithmic, where's he in the whole setup? Because he's quite short in betting for the slipper.
Yeah, his run was enormous first up. He loves to get to the outer. He had a checkered path in the 1,000-metre race. You'll see him running the Skyline this Saturday. 1,200, Ramwick, big track. Look, he's going to figure right in the finish, and he's another player too.
My favourite 3-year-old of your team, Swift Falcon. Where's he going to next? What a run.
Yeah, massive run. Ran enormous times. And I'll say it, you put him where broadsiding is, what does he do to the field, in all fairness? And
can he do that, though, Michael? He seems to be a horse that gets back a lot. Is that just barriers?
He's only got back because of barriers, mate. Like even 2000 at Ramwick in his last prep, had to go back. It just makes a world of difference. Now, you don't have to be right up, punching for the lead, but you're another 2 pair closer, and that 2 pair closer makes the world of difference. And broadsiding had that bit of turn of foot early. We had to take our medicine. It was a phenomenal run. He just let rip, and half up the straight, I thought he was still going to get there, to be honest. But to run broadsiding to a half a length, huge effort. Ramwick Guinea's next start, draws a barrier. He's going to be extremely hard to beat.
Michael, you spoke about the Skyline next Saturday. Our punters listening now, they love a coming winner. Anything during the week they should be looking out for on the East Coast?
Oh, look, we've got a few runners sort of hit and miss. I've got a horse on Tuesday I like. We actually own it, to be honest. A horse called Frontex. He's having his second start. It was a huge run at Canterbury. First up, and he's going back to Kembla Grade on Tuesday, and he should be hard to beat there as well. So, but definitely Algorithmic heading towards Saturday from a young 2-year-old perspective. He's another exciting horse on the rise, and we've just got a really nice crop of good 2-year-olds at the moment.
Thanks, Michael. Well done.
Cheers, boys. Thank you.
Michael Hawkes, add some sanity to the program there, Brad. Now, here's one off the text line. Boys, obviously Matt Hill, one of the best. Almost wrecked a classic finish. Trying to add some bright side lyrics to the finish of the Futurity. Give me Cobb in the big races any day. That is from Fred of Fremantle. It was a disappointing call, I've got to say. No bigger Matt Hill fan than me on the planet.
I didn't actually notice, to be honest.
Oh, yeah. He didn't know which Godolphin horse it was. Flashing late. Right. Was it Tom Kitten? Was it Pericles? And that just threw him. And, it wasn't one of his greatest.
It's unusual. I mean, can happen, I suppose. I was just looking at that front X for you, just quickly before you get read out more SMSs. This early markets tab touch, $5.50 on Tuesday. So
you're right onto it. A bit quicker than me, Brad. Hey, the Drivers' Championship up there in Albion Park in Brisbane has been fantastic. Mick Radley, he was our man who's all over it. He's joining us now to give us a summation of how it all ended up. Hi, Mick.
Yeah, hey, boys. The voice is starting to go.
Oh, it should be.
But we're still here.
That'd be a massive campaign. Angus Garrard, did he get the money?
He got the cash.
Yes, thank you very much.
They call him the kid. They call him the kid. He got the cash. He set up he led us into the second round. We thought we might have been in front, but he led us into the second round. He had a better book of drives. But I tell you what, Junior drove great. He ended up running second.
Great.
And we needed a top 3 finish to come back next year. And I just said to Junior, whatever you do, you've got to run top 3 so he can come back. And then he got the job done. I got to say, he drove 18 out of 19, an absolute peach, Junior.
Well, there you go.
He came off the pegs on one of them, but the other 18 drives, he was probably the driver of the series.
Yep.
for mine, Junior.
Michael?
He gave every possible chance.
Michael, you, me, and Marty know about the format. For those who might have just tuned in and said, what are they talking about? Just tell us how it all unfurled this week.
Yeah, it was a slot series for drivers, so we all know how popular the slot races are for the horses. This is for the drivers, and it was over 2 nights. 10 races on each card, 10 of the best drivers in the world. There was Yannick Gingras from America, who's driven 8,000 winners, 230 million in stakes. Dexter Dunn, who's the best driver in the world. He's from New Zealand, but he's now in America. He last year, Dexter drove over 16 million in stakes in just 1 year. He's an absolute freak, Dexter. And Bjorn Gulp also come over from Sweden. Bjorn's an absolute rock star in Sweden. It's the 3rd biggest sport in Sweden, harness racing. And he's got billboards. He's got a marketing team. And he's a great fella. He came over. He's driven 8,000 winners in his career. And all driving against the best in Australasia as well. And it was a draft where you get to pick your horses. It was a snake draft, so we were 9th. So we got the 9th pick in the first round, but the 2nd pick in the second round, so on, and then not the 9th in the 3rd and 2nd in the 4th. So our guys did a great job. We had a couple of professional punters, Ollie County and Matt Lippard, and they did a great job. And as I said, Junior gave us every conceivable. He drove great, and yeah, it was great to catch up with everyone. But even some drivers that weren't driving. Greg Sugars was here the first night, who's one of the best in Australia, and Zach Butcher, who I think is the best in New Zealand. He was here last night, so they've come to watch the other guys race, which was fantastic.
So and I was very surprised. I won't mention names, but a guy well known in harness racing who isn't a fan of drivers' championships, but this one is different, isn't it? Because you get a chance to pick your drives, to do the form, you're not just getting allocated horses that have got no hope. So in all intents and purposes, if you do your form right, you get enough good drives and you drive well enough, then you've got a big chance of winning it. And we saw that with Angus Garrard. Obviously, you had identified that he had some very good drives and was going to be one of the drivers that could win it. You said that before a drive had taken place and he got the money.
Yeah, it was a little bit harder the draft because we sort of couldn't hear what the other drivers were taking. We knew the horses were gone, but it was a little bit hard to keep up. And then the boys sort of had a quick look at the fields after the race, and they said, "Geez, Angus has done a good job." And to his credit, this kid's 21.
Gee,
he actually did the draft himself.
Okay.
Gareth Hall was sitting next to him. He was a passenger.
Yeah, well, that's normal.
He was a complete passenger. He took credit for it, don't worry.
Of course he would have.
But Angus actually picked the horse himself, and that's the reason we partner with the other guys as well, because that's what they do. They're professional punters. They knew the form. They said, "Look, we've got a pretty good book," and Friday night was our go, and we won the 2 races that we thought we would win.
Yes.
And then on the final night, we're in a little bit of trouble at different stages. It was a little bit low about race 4 after our best driver of the night ran last, or second last. But Junior, he's run second on a thing that was 100 to 1, and then he won the next one when he probably shouldn't have, at $5 or $6, and it just turned the night around. We held on for second, and it was just fantastic.
You sound like you had a hell of a time. And did you catch up with the greatest cricket writer in the country, Crash Craddock? Did he make an appearance?
He was here on the first night. I actually missed him, and we actually called each other on the next day. I spoke to him yesterday. I didn't actually get to see him, but he only lives 5 minutes from Albion Park. But I didn't actually get to see Crash. He was here the first night, the great man. But he had to go and do a function with Jonathan Brown or something last night, so I missed him last night. But but even saying that, guys like Cran Dalgetty, who's he's been a great trainer from New Zealand. He's a very good friend of mine. Getting to catch up with these guys was so much fun. And Cran's best on ground every time you see him. So it was very much like an old Inter-Dominion carnival. We all caught up with each other.
Yeah.
And I think everyone wants to come back. I was actually speaking to James McDonald, who's a Canadian who's just he dominates Canada now.
Jeez, you're dropping some names. This is one of your best performances ever.
No, but he wants to come next year. Like he wants to come next year. Like he said, look, it looks so much fun. I've got to be there. Well, and I think you're going to find that every driver is going to want a slot.
Can we get it here to Perth?
Well, there's every chance because I was speaking to the guys from Queensland. And they're sort of saying we think we'll hold it for the first couple of years, but we don't know whether it's a annual event. And I said, well, if you don't want to hold it every year, we'll alternate with you.
Okay.
And we can run it one year, you can run it the next. And if you want to do that, then we'll definitely come to the party because like the first night, I think the turnover for the Friday was double what they normally do.
Well, understandable, yeah.
That's what it's all. Yep. Yeah, that's what it's all about.
Okay.
Getting your eyes on the track.
We've got to push forward because we've got Steve with us not far away as well. But the graphics that they use for Queensland racing that we see here, can we get them to Perth?
Yeah, I think we can. It's just a matter of working with our vision provider and trying to get there. David Brick's the one who drove that. He's the manager over here of Harness, who's actually now promoted to virtually David Hunter's spot as manager of all three codes. He got the times up there, and he's got the geo with all the numbers in running. So they were talking about it. So I'm hopeful that we can get it here for sure.
You've been great. Again, you found our listeners, the punters, another good winner before the series started. You're going to keep your job if you keep this up.
Thank you. Yes, the interview was good, and then this driver series has been good as well. So the boy.
Mick, can I give you a bit of advice? Go down to Brecky Creek this morning and have one off the wood.
Oh, yeah.
You need it.
Oh, yeah.
He's had a few off the wood, I reckon.
I'm looking for a water.
Okay. All the best, Michael. Well done. Thank you.
Thanks, boys.
There he goes,
Thanks.
Michael Radley. Quick break. Steve with us next.
Sunday morning, Tab Radio Racing and Sport is turned on. And you are listening to the dulcet tones of Marty Young and Brad Hardie on the Aftermath.
Hey, old mate Baywatch just texted. He reckons they've named that 2-year-old after him in Sydney.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry, Baywatch. I mean, Mark Barlis we're talking about, of course. Yeah, and no disrespect to those who suffer from this, but he is a bit dyslexic. He thinks that horse is called Baywatch. He said, you're calling it wrong, mate.
Oh, he's a beauty. And
Baywatch.
Just talking off air, he mentioned about the Creek Hotel. What is it in Brisbane there?
The Brecky Creek.
Oh, the Brecky Creek. Yes. It is a ripper, absolute ripper.
It's
and
magnificent.
They do the Surf Lifesaving Club get in there and run all the raffles, and it reminded me about the raffles in the old days at the Waffle, and down there in Kalgoorlie or up in Kalgoorlie at half time. Were they ever vetted?
Look, I think Peter O'Neill and others who used to go to the Waffle on a regular. Remember how they used to sell tickets and they'd go around. Someone would walk around with a bit of chalk on a board saying E73. Well, no one ever won.
No, that was happening at the creek as well. I sprang the boys. I said, "Come on, you bloke." They said, "Where are you from?" I said, "Oh, mate, we've been around a bit." Guys, heard a whisper that last season Simon Garlick was offered a position at AFL House. He went and spoke to the board and told them he wanted more say and more input into what was going on at the club. Otherwise, he was leaving. They agreed, and that apparently Garlick was the reason why Peter Bell is no longer at the club. Any truth to that, Brad? That is from Lisa.
Oh, yeah. No, they wanted. He wanted to go to the AFL. They wanted him at the AFL. He'll go. I think he's a good chance of going now. Next year, I think he's a really good chance. They want to get a COO in that. They'll deny that, but that's okay. COO to buffer between Laura Kane and Andrew Dillon, so he can spend more time running the game rather than cleaning up the mess. So it wouldn't surprise me. But again, the pressure on Garlow and the Fremantle Football Club this year to get the job done first.
What is Marnie? What's he doing? He just went across as COO, didn't he? What's he doing?
We can say it, not rated. I said this is the problem for Laura Kane. She's quite intelligent as a lawyer, but when it comes to football, there's a little bit there, and you're only as good as the people around you. And look, they always structure these things up. They don't want people who are going to make rough seas or rock the boat. You know what I mean? But best people get job. That's as far as I'm concerned. And that'll change, and I think it will change.
Let's go back to the Canning Trophy replay.
racing. Boracay Summer came out quickly on the inside along with Bungee Man. Crashing across was Federal Focus from out wide. Couldn't get there though, and Boracay Summer held the running out by 2.5 lengths. Bungee Man gets underneath of Federal Focus to second and third. Following it through now on the inside was Maximum Cooner, then followed by West on Booney getting checked there. Federal Focus, Better Call. Well back in the field was Showit and also Lochinvar Hawk, but off the back, and Boracay Summer in full flight out by 7 up on the inside. Bungee Man, Maximum Cooner, but it's Boracay Summer takes out the Keith Harding, wins by 8 lengths. Second goes the way of West on Booney, flooding home.
Oh, yes, what a win last night. The Keith Harding. Joining us is Steve Withers. Very good morning, Steve.
What's going on, boys?
Oh, we're doing our best. Brad Hardie's in Melbourne. He's got you lined up. He was all over this.
Oh, congratulations, Steve. Well done. A few iffy moments there. The dog jumped well as usual and drifted up the track a little bit. There was only one problem, wasn't it? Federal Focus come down the outside, but accelerated away from him going past the post the first time.
Yeah, look, there was going to be pressure. It's a pretty strong race, and you're just looking for a little bit of opportunity. And I guess box 1 probably helped her a fair bit there, but once she got the opportunity, she certainly held strong and made sure she used it.
Yeah. Were you worried about the 8 coming across and maybe giving her a clip?
There's always going to be pressure in good races and good finals like that, and yeah, I guess you're coming down to the quality of your dog and their ability to handle pressure and push their way through it. So, yeah, she did a pretty good job there.
10th win, just continues to, a good money dog, you'd say?
Fantastic. Yeah, she came across from Melbourne with a little bit of ability, but without being consistent and without really putting it all together. And she's certainly taken to the West Australian summer, and yeah, she's really happy and she's having a great time on it.
It's always great when you get one like this, Steve. What's the plan going forward?
Quick break, and then it gets tougher again. I suppose you chance your arm and you roll through the Perth Cup Series. The Cup's a great race. It's probably a little bit too tough. You never know what happens, but there's some really nice backup races that fall in behind it with the consolation. So it's a really good series for her, and then we'll probably look and see what she wants to do next.
Echoes of Dad was good in race number 10.
Massive. Yeah, this is probably the exciting thing about having young stock coming through, is that you never know. And we thought he had a little bit of ability, definitely not what he showed last night. And sometimes they surprise you as they learn, and you've never reached the bottom of it. It keeps it exciting to get up in the morning, yeah.
Yeah, anything coming up for the punters that we can follow out of the kennel?
Yeah, look, that litter, Echoes of Dad litter, the Tommy Shelby Joker Poker, there's a couple of really, really nice ones in there. It's going to be a good litter. The average ones are really nice dogs like he is, and yeah, there could be a couple of special ones in there too.
What about the Australian Cup last night over there at the Meadows? Mapunga Tully wins for Jeff Britton.
Great race. Always a great series, and yeah, it was a thrilling final, wasn't it? There was, again, you see all the high pressure early for dogs to get in the position to actually get a chance, and yeah, then still have to dig deep and hang on late like that. Yeah, I'd say a few of those dogs you'll probably see over here in Perth in the next couple of weeks for the carnival.
So what about the Sandgroper? How's it looking?
It'll be dead set tough, always is, and especially when you're going hand-picked dogs for the best 8 for the slot holders. Again, I'd say you're going to see the best of what the local scene has to offer.
Mm-hmm.
Will get their chances, and then you'll see 2 or 3, maybe more of those dogs out of the Australian Cup final at that level come over as well. And yeah, it'll be guns blazing.
Steve, we've got to be a bit quick with you today. We had a bit of trouble getting you on, and Brad's got to do his thing for the Sunday Saviour. So thanks for coming on this morning, and well done on the Keith Harding last night and also winning with Echoes of Dad.
Appreciate you guys.
Good on you, Steve. He's a ripper, Steve, with us. Righto, Sunday Saviour time, Brad.
We should have stayed with Steve. He's a winner. Let's see. Now we're going to Mudgee Race 4, number 3, Serious Flyer, Marty. $3.50 there, race 4, number 3, Mudgee. Moe Race 6, number 9, Diamanda. That's $2.90, so a bit of value if we can get those together. And I'm going to go to the place because I'm getting meatloaf, as you know.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm going up, and I've been convinced now by our mate Chris Nelson, rail out. So the Sunny Coast Race 6, number 8, Missile 1 for the place. You'll get $1.50 there. So Mudgee Race 4, number 3, Serious Flyer, $3.50. Moe Race 6, number 9, Diamanda, $2.90. And we'll come home with Sunshine Coast Race 6, number 8, Missile 1 for the place, $1.50. 15.22, and a very belated happy birthday to Ginger.